6. Welcome to the Betty Glick Assembly Chambers. I'll call the July 11 to 2023 regular meeting of the Kenai Peninsula Borough Assembly to order. This meeting is also being conducted through the Zoom meeting platform. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Lauren Hollers will give us the invocation. You may either remain standing or be seated. No one is required to participate. My old friend Lauren, come ahead.
We are so thankful that we live in a country where we can gather and we can practice self-government. And I just pray, Father, that eyes would be opened, ears open to hear, and we just remember that we battle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers in high places. And I just ask, Father, that your presence would be here and we would conduct business in a way that would please you. We just welcome you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Lauren. Madam Clerk, please read the roll.
President Johnson?
Here.
Vice President Cox?
Here.
Mr. Chesley?
Here.
Mr. Durkavorkian?
Here.
Ms. Eklund?
Here.
Mr. Elam?
Here.
Mr. Hibbert?
Here.
Mr. Ribbons?
Here.
Mr. Tupper is excused. You have a quorum, Mr. President.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Committee reports will be next. The first to meet was the Finance Committee. It's chaired by Chairman Hibbert, and he will give the report.
Thank you, President Johnson. So we had our Finance Committee today at 12 o'clock. And first up, we had Harrison Deaver. He's a senior captain with Nikiski Fire. He came and gave a presentation today on the mobile integration healthcare. And what that is, they started this about COVID time, and to try to keep patients that maybe didn't need to go to the ER out of the ER, where the fire, the crew would go out and maybe help somebody with their medication, or if someone maybe fell, they go offer assistance. Helps the families. They do some family support, helping families, and they get most of their a lot of this work comes from referrals from like a hospital when somebody's going home or being released from the hospital. We had an ordinance 2022-1978 was reappropriating $62,667.94 to complete the Kenai Peninsula Borough Public Relations and the Mission Vision and Values contract, and $13,176.45 to the Tourism and Economic Promotion, and that was brought to us by the mayor. So what this is this is just finishing up last year's contract. We're taking some money that didn't get spent from the following year, and we're just moving it on to this year, and we're going to finish up these contracts. Ordinance 2022-1979 is appropriating funds from the Solid Waste Capital Project Fund to fund expenditures associated with the Leach-A project that are ineligible for federal funding. So there was about $457,000 and some change for this project, and this is to expand the Leach-A liner and an evaporator to help us with our Leach-A out at the solid waste facility. Ordinance 2023-1901 is accepting and appropriating federal grant funding in the amount of $281,250 from the Alaska Division of Community and Regional Affairs to update the hazard mitigation plan. That's what we're doing, is updating this plan. And I can So this started back in November of 30th of 2018. It must be, I think, can remember the earthquake that we had. The North Road out there had a big spot in it, and down to KBH. So, anyways, this is just updating this hazard mitigation plans in this with the earthquake that kind of got all this started. We had a laydown. It was resolution 2023-051 authorizing the sole source procurement contract award to Hot Rocks Asphalt Paving LLC to seal coat school parking lots. We had a mistake. We had let part of that bid go out for the crack sealing and on some of the schools, and there was a mistake made that thought that whole bid was awarded, and the contractor continued on and was doing the seal coating, and it came to our attention that that bid hadn't been let yet. So of course we're going to honor. They were working on it. They had it quite a bit of it completed, and so we honored that and let them continue on, and we and that bid was for they bid it for, I believe it was 150,000, I think, 115,000. Ordinance 2023. These are ordinances for introduction. Ordinance 2023-1902 is authorizing the assessor to accept one late filed senior citizen exemption application filed after March 31st and providing an exception to KPB 5.12.105E. And we're going to hear this again at our August 1st meeting. We have this on occasions. We'll have a senior that maybe is out of state on medical or in the hospital or for some unforeseen reasons. They weren't able to file for their exemption, and so they fill out the application, come to us, and we look at that. And there's sometimes that when it comes to the assessor denies them, but this one here they brought to us. Ordinance 2023-1903 is appropriating a $5,000 donation from Hillcorp Alaska LLC to supply local students with backpacks for the 2023-24 school year, and we'll hear this again August 1st. If when we get donations, we have to make that public and have an ordinance on that to be able to accept those. So that's why we're seeing this tonight. Ordinance 2023-1904, accepting and appropriating the value of extrication equipment received by the Bear Creek Fire Service Area through the Alaska Legislative Grant Agreement 23-DC-022 as a pass-through from the Girdwood Fire Department, and we'll hear this on October 1st. When our Mayor Machicki was in the Senate, he got this through the Senate, this money for this equipment, this grant, and it went through Girdwood Fire Department, and then they passed that on to Bear Creek Fire Service Area for equipment. And their equipment was old. We saw pictures of it. Authorizing the issuance of a letter of non-objection to the marijuana. KPB 5322 is authorizing the issuance of a letter of non-objection to the Marijuana Control Board regarding the new marijuana retail store, Red's Outpost, requested by Zachary Oberman, license number 32773, and this is subject to standards and conditions. President Johnson, that is the end of my Finance Committee report.
Well done, Brent. We will move on to the Lands Committee, brought to us by Chairman Eklund.
Thank you, President Johnson. We met as the Lands Committee this afternoon at 12:50, and we had one item under new business. It was KPB-5327 to vacate portions of Steek Avenue granted on Ninilchik right-of-way map, plat HM 84-115, and associated utility easements brought to us by the mayor. The member of the planning staff, Vince, gave us the overview, and this is a piece of land that is in between 4 parcels owned by the Caribou Hills cabin hoppers. And so it will not obstruct any access to any other property owners around. And it will also make landing of helicopters easier. And at its regularly scheduled meeting on the Kenai Peninsula Borough Planning Commission on June 26, 2023, proposed vacation was approved by unanimous consent. And that's the end of the Lands Committee report.
Thanks, Cindy. Policies and Procedures Committee brought to us by Chairman Chesley. Please.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. The Policies and Procedures Committee met today. We had 2 items on our agenda. Both are on this evening's agenda. Resolution 2023-048, placing an advisory question on the ballot at the next regular election to be held October 3rd, 2023, asking whether the Kenai Peninsula Borough should change its regular election date. And that was brought to us by Assembly Member Dirk Kevorkian. And then our second ordinance for introduction was Ordinance 2023-16, establishing the Cooper Landing Emergency Service Area and providing for an appointed board subject to voter approval. This was brought to us by Assembly Member Eklund, and there'll be more discussion on that this evening. And then we had a short report from the mayor, and that's my report.
Thank you, Lane. The Legislative Committee will be brought to us by Vice President Cox.
Thank you. We started our meeting at 2:04. It went for 15 minutes. The first thing that we discussed was new business resolutions. Resolution 2023-049, supporting passage of Alaska State Board of Education and Early Development Resolution 02-2023, in support of preserving the opportunity for student athletes while balancing competitive fairness and safety for all who compete. This was brought to us by Mr. Dirk Kevorkian, myself, and then signed on today as co-sponsors, Mr. Hibbert, Mr. Elam, and Mayor Machicki. And what that was is essentially we're supporting the State Board of Education with their resolution to the Alaska Department of Education to develop regulations concerning having a girls division that's based on being female at birth, and then a co-ed division that could be anyone, and then an appeal process to go with both of those regulations. Secondly, we discussed Resolution 2023-050, supporting a collaborative research initiative focusing on hazard assessment, networking, and hazard preparedness from landslide-generated tsunamis. It's brought to us by Mayor Machicki and Ms. Eklund. And I will just quickly read through the memo that came with that. It says Kenai Peninsula Borough's Resilience and Security Advisory Commission, the Office of Emergency Management, and the All Hazard Incident Management Team have roles in identifying hazards and generating awareness and preparedness for such hazards. A multi-agency, multi-stakeholder collaborative planning and research project is being coordinated through a number of institutions and agencies concerned with developing a better understanding of landslide-generated tsunami hazards in glacial and permafrost regions, including the borough, as well as creating networks and methods to address risks which could assist the borough. The borough has the potential to participate and benefit from a line study, networking, and preparedness development. The project leads are seeking funding through the National Science Foundation. A more detailed project description is enclosed within our documents, so if you want to look at that, you can. And then this resolution would encourage the National Science Foundation funding and indicate the borough as a stakeholder. And so this is a resolution so that we can participate with this project. Thank you. That's the end of my report.
Thank you, Vice President Cox. Finally, we'll have a report by Chairman Chesley on the Material Site Subcommittee, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. The Material Site Assembly Subcommittee met today from 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock, and we addressed 3 amendments to the ongoing work that we're doing. to ordinance section 22-36, and we still have about 8 amendments to go, and so we'll be meeting again at our next meeting, August 1st from 3 to 5. Thank you.
And thank you, Lane. At this time, we are going to do something. We're going to have Vice President Cox give us a motion concerning the borough clerk.
Thank you. So I move to extend a conditional offer to Michelle Turner for the position of Borough Clerk, subject to a successful negotiation of employment terms. The Assembly President and Vice President are authorized to enter into negotiations with the candidate.
Thank you for the motion. So is there any Assembly member that would like to speak to that? Vice President Cox.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to say that I'm happy to see this going forward and not being just temporary anymore. So hopefully we won't have to see the line temporary on there, and it will just be Borough Clerk. Thank you.
Thank you, Tyson. I'll make a couple of comments also. Michelle has worked in the borough's clerk's office since 2008. She's been the deputy clerk since 2013. She's been the acting clerk for 4 months or so. Since December. That's more than 6 months. It's July now, so that's 7, 8 months. It's been quite a while. Anyway, I'm very much looking forward to seeing this happen. So, and with that, Mr. Elam.
Thank you. Well, I couldn't pass over and not mention just that, I really appreciate everything you've done the last 3 years that I've been here. Been very helpful, and I know that it's a lot of long hours and everything, so I appreciate it, and thanks for stepping up to the plate for the last 9 months. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hibbert.
Thank you, Michelle. And for the audience to know this too, is that Michelle was put in as temporary here when Ms. Blankenship took another job, and she was right in the middle of a special election. And so I want to thank you. You did a great job with everything, and I know that you had a lot on your plate, but I appreciate the hard work that you put in. And the 7 years that I've been here, you've done a great job, and I expect 1 more year, and then I'm done. So thanks.
Thank you, Brent. Mr. Chesley.
I'm just grateful, Michelle, that you were willing to step up and be considered for the position, so thank you.
Thank you, Lane. Don't see anyone else. Mr. Cox, were you going to say?
Yes. If there's no other comments, I would like to ask for unanimous consent.
Okay, unanimous has been requested. Is there any objection? Hearing and seeing no objection, the motion passes. Congratulations, Ms. Turner. That will bring us to approval of the agenda and consent agenda. Vice President Cox.
I move to approve the agenda and consent agenda.
This is when we do it. Amendments to the agenda and consent agenda. Let's see. So who's going to add resolution 2351?
Is that me?
Sure. Why not?
Which one? Oh, it is me. So I would like to add to the consent agenda resolution 2023-051, and I'd like to ask for unanimous, please.
Okay, well, I was busy talking to the vice president, so I think Chairman Hibbert moved to add and ask for unanimous, and is there any objection? And I don't hear any. Is there any other?
I got 3 more.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so I have 3 more. I'd like to add ordinance 2022-1978 to the consent agenda and ask for unanimous.
Unanimous is requested. Is there any objection? Hearing and seeing none, it is added.
I'd like to add ordinance 2022-1979 to the consent agenda and ask for unanimous.
Unanimous has been requested for ordinance 2022-1979. Is there any objection? Hearing and seeing none, it is added.
Okay, and my last one, I'd like to add ordinance 2023-1901 to the consent agenda and ask for unanimous.
Ms. Eklund.
Thank you. I'd like to remove from the consent agenda resolution.
Oh, hold on. I got to finish Brent's first. I'm sorry. Yeah, I mean, he asked for unanimous, and I saw you talk, and I thought you were going to speak to that. No, it's
So I asked for unanimous.
okay. Is there any objection to adding ordinance 23-1901 to the consent agenda? Hearing and seeing none, it is added.
Thank you, Brent. I would like to remove resolution 2023-049 from the consent agenda.
It's
And
removed.
I would also like to remove ordinance 2023-16 from the consent agenda, and withdraw it from the agenda for tonight. There is no way that we can get that mill rate lowered for Cooper Landing service area, even if we took another year to address it, and I'll work with the mayor on finding other routes to provide funding for that area. Thank you.
It is withdrawn, and Cindy, I very much appreciate the hard work you put into that. Mr. Druckevorkian.
Thanks, President Johnson. I would like to remove resolution 2023-48 from the consent agenda and postpone the public hearing to the August 1st meeting, if possible. Can I do that in one action? No. All right, just remove it from the consent agenda then.
Okay, so and you asked for unanimous on removing it? No, you don't have to. It's all removed. Anyone else? Vice President? You're good. Okay, so now I'm going to in a moment, the clerk will read the titles of the items on the consent agenda. After she reads them, you will have an opportunity to testify about them. All items that stay on the consent agenda will be approved or set for public hearing, whichever is the case when the Assembly approves the agenda and consent agenda. Madam Clerk, please read the consent agenda.
June 20th, 2023 regular Assembly meeting minutes. Ordinance 2022-1978, reappropriating $62,667.94 to complete the KPB Public Relations and the Mission, Vision, and Values contracts, and $13,176.45 for the Tourism and Economic Promotion, sponsored by the Mayor. Ordinance 2022-1979, appropriating funds from the Solid Waste Capital Project Fund to fund expenditures associated with the Liache project that are ineligible for federal funding, sponsored by the Mayor. Ordinance 2023-1901, accepting and appropriating federal grant funding in the amount of $281,250 from the Alaska Division of Community and Regional Affairs to update the Hazard Mitigation Plan, sponsored by the Mayor. Resolution 2023-050, supporting a collaborative research initiative focusing on hazard assessment, networking, and hazard preparedness from landslide-generated tsunamis, sponsored by the Mayor and Ms. Eglin. Resolution 2023-051, authorizing a sole source procurement contract award to Hot Rocks Asphalt Paving, LLC, to seal coat school parking lots, sponsored by the Mayor. Ordinance 2023-1902, authorizing the assessor to accept one late-filed senior citizen exemption application filed after March 31st and providing an exception to KPB 512-105E, sponsored by the Mayor, hearing on August 1st. Ordinance 2023-1903, appropriating a $5,000 donation from Hillcorp Alaska, LLC, to supply local students with backpacks for the 2023-24 school year, sponsored by the Mayor, hearing on August 1st. Ordinance 2023-1904, accepting and appropriating the value of extrication equipment received by Bear Creek Fire Service Area through Alaska Legislative Grant Agreement 23 DC 022 as a pass-through from Girdwood Fire Department, sponsored by the Mayor, hearing on August 1st. KPB 5327, vacate portions of Steak Avenue, granted on Ninilchik right-of-way map, Plat HM 84115, and associated utility easements. KPB 5322, authorizing the issuance of a letter of non-objection to the Marijuana Control Board regarding the new marijuana retail store, Red's Outpost, requested by Zachary Overman, license number 32773, subject to standard conditions. That is the consent agenda.
Thank you, Madam. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is anyone signed up to speak to any item on the consent agenda? Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to any item that the clerk just read on the consent agenda? I will then close this portion of the public hearing and bring it back to the assembly for action. Vice President Caucus.
Yes, I request unanimous approval of the agenda and consent agenda as amended.
Thank you. Unanimous is requested. Is there any objections? Hearing and seeing no objections, we have an agenda and the consent agenda is approved. Resolution 2023-48. Oh, you're right. Yeah, comments for items not on the agenda. So this is the opportunity to comment on anything that is not on the agenda. Does anyone wish to speak to something?
Adam Bertoldo.
Hello. I would like to address the proposed election ordinance, Ordinance 2023-15. Now, there are 3 proposed changes in there that I'm not in favor of.
That's on the agenda, right? Okay. Go ahead.
Okay. So there's 3 of the proposed changes that I'm not in favor of, and I don't think these 3 items make an improvement to the code. I think they do the opposite. The first one is the reporting for write-in candidate votes. Currently, a write-in candidate only has to beat 1 person who is on the ballot to get reported, but the change would make it to where they either need to win the election or force a runoff for their results to be reported individually. So that kind of seems like it's going the opposite way, away from transparency. The second item is 4.90.050A, which removes the time constraint for certification of the election. Currently, it's no later than the Tuesday following the election, but this would remove that portion of language and leave it to just say as soon as possible. So that one's kind of open-ended. And again, that one kind of goes away from transparency. The third one is in the same section there, C, and that one removes a part that says if there's an apparent discrepancy in the returns of 1 or more precincts, the assembly may order a recount. So that one, I believe, would remove some of the oversight that I would like to see left in there that the assembly has over the canvass and certification process.
Thank you, Adam. Are there any questions? Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, Adam. I received your email and then your indirect email through Michelle Hartline, and I appreciate you commenting on it. We'll be talking about it. That's okay. When we introduce something, it's an idea, and it's good to hear from folks that want to talk about some of the specifics about the idea. So I will be reaching out to you, and we can chat about those issues.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, and if anyone else has any questions, I'd be free to help. Glad to help any way I can. Because yeah, I think we all want to improve on what we have now. Thank you.
Mr. Elam has a question. Adam, hold
Thank
on
you.
1 second.
So the second item that you pointed out was the due date. which spot did you say that was in again?
4.90050A.
Okay. And so by removing the date, I see what you're saying there. Is there a suggestion that you have for how soon that reporting would be done or the certification?
Well, ideally, I would like to see a shorter time frame, but I realize that with how the ordinance is now, where mail-in ballots can still arrive up to a week later, unless there's other major changes in how a lot more things are done, I don't think that would be possible. So I think for now, leaving it 1 week after the election would be suitable.
And so, a follow-up if I may?
Please.
The other one that you had about the reporting by the canvas board, that was at the very bottom of the ordinance there.
Yes.
And it says that if the canvas board reports a apparent discrepancy, it returns one of the more. I do see what you're saying there about it, that the results shall be reported to the assembly, and by removing that, I believe I would need to check with legal here. So let me just kind of find out. What does that change by removing that requirement? Is there a reason that sorry, you probably aren't prepared for that particular spot there. It's in 49050, and then it is in currently what is in C, and so by removing that reporting mechanism, so I'm just curious, mostly for the public. The assembly still has the authority to do a recount and various things there, right?
Mr. Elam, through the chair. So if I recall, this was removed because of a redundancy that earlier in the ordinance, the election board, if there is a discrepancy, will recount, and a requirement that they, even if there are no discrepancies, they'll recount at least one precinct. But yes, the assembly, I think, would have that authority to order a recount if there is some obvious error that they're concerned with.
Okay. That's what I thought, and so I'll follow up and have a conversation in more detail about some of those concerns. And so, but I appreciate you bringing it up. And so, thanks.
Thank you, Adam.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak to something that's not on the agenda?
This is Lindsay Bertoldo and Nikiski. I'll just say ditto to that. So it's Paris.
Thank you. Anyone? Oh, one more. Go ahead, Madam Clerk.
Michelle Vasquez on Zoom.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hear you loud and clear, Michelle. Go ahead.
Thanks. This is Michelle Vasquez. I live in Soldotna. First of all, I want to thank Assemblymember Eklund for removing 2023-049 from the consent agenda. I've written, I think, to most of you and expressed my outrage over this resolution. There's a national trend happening right now.
So, Michelle, resolution 23049 will come up on the agenda, so that will be the time to speak to that.
Okay, sorry about that.
No problem at all.
I'll be back.
Always hard to figure these things out.
Yes, I'll be back. Thank you.
Real good. Anyone else? Okay, I'll close that portion of the public hearing and bring it back to the assembly. And now we're ready to move to where I was before, which is resolution 2023-048, and that would be Mr. referred to the policies and procedures, so that would be Chairman Chesley. Need a motion and a report.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to move for adoption of Resolution 2023-048, placing an advisory question on the ballot at the next regular election to be held October 3rd, 2023, asking whether the Kenai Peninsula Borough should change its regular election date, and this was brought to us by Mr. Dirk Kevorkian.
We're waiting on a conference.
Okay.
Thanks. Thanks, Mr. Chesley. I would move to postpone this till the August 1st meeting, if possible.
Yeah, I think so. Now, do I do a public hearing first?
It is up to the body's wishes.
What do you guys want to do? Just wait till postpone it? I hear one.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
I think there's going to be a fair number of people from the southern end of the peninsula that wanted to testify by Zoom. So if there's no Zoom testimony, I'm fine.
If there's Zoom testimony, if there is, we'll do a public hearing because I don't want to keep people from testifying if they want to. What do you see, Madam Clerk?
I do have one signed up, Donna Adderhold.
Definitely Homer. Okay, we're going to open it up for a public hearing and we'll start.
Mr. Johnson, if we're going to have a public hearing, can I just comment on the resolution?
Please do.
Okay. So just so the public's aware and everyone in the chambers is aware, this resolution is an advisory vote that would be placed on the ballot. It would ask the public if they are interested in moving the regular municipal elections, the borough elections that currently happen in October, to align with the state elections. So they would be in November every year. They'd be on the same day as state elections. This advisory vote takes no action. If it were to pass, the hope would be that the assembly would abide by the public's wishes, take it up by ordinance, and work through that process next year with the goal of moving the borough elections to align with the state elections by November of 2024. Having this as an advisory vote, my goal was to gauge the public's interest before we put a lot of time and effort into this and spent administration's time, the clerk's time, the borough assembly's time on any kind of, this is going to be a lot of work if we were to take this on. It's going to take probably a committee of people, community engagement, a lot of time from the clerk's office. And I just really wanted to gauge the community's interest if this is something the community wanted before we took this up as an action. So just want to be clear, this is just an advisory vote. It would ask the public whether they were interested in moving the elections to November or not. It'd be a yes or no. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dirk Kevorkian. And now we will go to Ms. Adderhold.
Hi there. This is Donna Adderhold from Homer, Alaska. And I am on the Homer City Council. I'm speaking tonight from my personal perspective, though, because our body has not had an opportunity to weigh in on this. As I did listen in on your policies and procedures meeting today, I really appreciated the discussion that you guys had there. And as Mr. Dirk Kevorkian has noted, you're planning to postpone this, which will give me the opportunity to sponsor a resolution to bring before the Homer City Council at our next meeting at the end of July. So hopefully we will be able to get you something before your August meeting, your first August meeting. From a purely personal perspective, though, I had the opportunity to speak with Mr. Dirk Kevorkian, and I'm so glad that he gave me a call and had a great conversation. After speaking with Mr. Dirk Kevorkian, I really started thinking about this from the perspective of, what is the issue here? The issue is the interest in improving voter turnout, which I completely and totally agree with. I would love to have much better voter turnout throughout the borough and in the city of Homer. And if you look at it from that perspective, there could be many different ways to look at increasing voter turnout as opposed to looking at one specific measure at this time. And so I would just encourage you guys to kind of take a step back and think about this from the bigger picture and Just think about, maybe getting, something along the lines of the election stakeholder group from a few years ago to just get a group together to really think about methods to increase voter turnout overall. So thank you very much for your time.
And Donna, thank you. And who is next? Anybody signed up? Okay. Madam Clerk, what did you say? Okay. Well, if somebody on Zoom wants to, then they'll have to raise your hand and wave it. How about from the audience? Anyone else? Yeah, please come forward.
Lindsay Bertoldo from Nikiski. So I think that it's an excellent idea. One of many things that we could do to improve voter turnout. Of course, we know that more people turn out for the state elections than the municipal, and more people are aware of what's going on that time of year as far as elections and candidates and issues, and more informed and just paying more attention in general. And so I think it's a great idea. I don't really understand why anybody would not support that, except that I would want to see that there are two different ballots, one for our borough elections, one for the Alaska state elections, and our own separate, workers running the election for the borough. But I do support same time, date, and place, and I think there's many of us that would volunteer to do that, to make that happen. I would make myself available to help you guys out with that, if need be. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice President Cox has a question.
Yes, and it was just to a comment to let you know that that is part of the process, is that the state and then the borough and city elections are separate from the state elections. That is in code, there's no doubt about that, which means we do need two sets of poll workers to be at those positions, which means for about 3 weeks we would need closer to 600 people for the entirety of the borough rather than 300, and then most of those same people going to the state. So it would definitely, so if you're willing to volunteer, we would definitely need that many more volunteers if this is something to move forward. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
I don't see anyone else. Okay, anyone else from that? Gail, beloved testimonial school teacher, come forward.
Where's the mic? I'm Gail Knupp from Kosiloff, and I'm a poll worker down there. And I spoke with another poll worker there, and we're both concerned about having that much going on in our little voting area there at the Kosiloff Community Church, and also having two different ballots and coming up with enough poll workers. So we do not see this as the best way to increase our voter turnout, and we'd like to look at other ways of doing it. Thank you.
Thank you, Gail. Are there any questions? Don't see any. Thank you very much. Alex had his hand up first, and then I'll get the gentleman in the back. Lauren.
This is great. I'm sorry, but I've Zoomed all these meetings. This is Alex Copland from Homer. I've Zoomed all these meetings, and you guys are great. I appreciate the borough government. I think you guys do a cool job. My time has started. I'm 2:52. Look, I love voting. I think this issue, and I talked to you too, and I appreciated your time and energy. Yeah, if we change that voting date. So KPB, I represent Kenai Peninsula votes. I should go back. It's been a long day. So we do a lot of things towards voter education, increasing voter awareness, a plethora of things for the last 7 years. We are nonpartisan. We don't care who you vote for. We just want you to vote. We want you to be educated about how you vote. There's a lot of issues, you know, yeah, let's change the date. We're going to get a bigger voter turnout for sure. But at the expense of what? We really need to look at the causal chain of how this whole thing works. I want to step back, like I've heard Council Ms. Adderhold say, and really study the problem. This is complex. You know, if you want this to go to an advisory vote and we have 18% of the population vote on it, people aren't excited about borough government, which I wish they would, okay? There's things we do need to do. We can do. KPB's done a lot of those things. We did the voter minute. We do a voter tidbit. I hand out ballots. Our group hands out ballots at Safeway saying, oh, look, the election's coming up. Oh, thank you. We're nonpartisan. We don't, you know, whatever. This is an opportunity. This was a good idea. But when you look at the statistics, like I went back and I looked at Matsu, and their city votes since, I think they started this, in my notes are over there, 2018, 2017, 2019, they changed to do it so the borough could vote and the cities would be different. Well, they lost 5% of their vote in the cities because now they're doing it during the November election too to coincide. So the cities lost that. Let's work together to come up with a plan, a comprehensive plan, like the stakeholders group did back, you know, with those recommendations. And you guys all know that study. And you guys did a resolution a year or two ago to promote elections. And that was great, but there was no meat to it. There was no substance to it. So we have an opportunity with that idea, because it's a good idea. But at the same time, there's a lot of other factors involved. You know, you have to study for ranked choice voting. You got to do it for regular voting, 2 different lines, a lot of election workers. Let's see if we can work. You know, we want to increase voter turnout, but we also want to increase voter education at the same time. So you're complicating the problem by having 2 elections with so many factors during this time. And I'm done, but I appreciate your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions, but I appreciate the work you guys do. And like I said, Mr. Dvorkian, so bravo for you for pushing this forward. But I think we need to step back and then start some sort of study so we can really ascertain what will work, what won't work. And then, like this lady said, yeah, I'll come in and I'll do it.
Okay, your time did run up. But hold on, I muffed it. You got the mayor's going to ask a question, but I'm going to ask one first because I muffed your introduction. Could you give your name and the group you represent, if there is one?
All right. So my name is. Thank you for that, Brent. My name is Alex Copland. I'm with Kenai Peninsula Votes. We're a grassroots effort started in 2016 to promote voting and to promote voter education.
Okay, thank you for that. Mayor Michiki, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Alex. It has been good talking to you. I think it is something we need to focus on, and maybe it is time to bring some folks together to talk about increasing the voter turnout on the Kenai. You know, a lot of people talked about the low turnout for the recent election, and going back through the records, frankly, kind of like every other borough election, it wasn't significantly lower. It's low, and I looked at the state election numbers. Presidential years are generally pretty healthy, but the others dropped right off. So I hope we can get more people interested, and I'm certainly willing to help gather people together toward that objective, whatever it takes to understand what it takes to motivate folks to pick the people that represent them everywhere from City Hall to the presidency. It's kind of fascinating how low it is at times.
Can I comment?
Well, okay, real quick.
We had a 44% voter turnout for this 2022 election, which was lower than a lot. District 6, which was District 31, we had a 55% turnout for that election. I was proud of that fact. In the borough, just so people know, we have 6 districts, and everybody knows 6 districts that do mail-in voting. Moose Pass usually comes in first, and they're mail-in. And Tyonek comes in last, and they're mail-in. So we have things to work on, but I think I agree with you. wholeheartedly, and you know that. Let's work on a plan that's comprehensive that can make this work for everybody.
Mr. Elam has a question.
Thank you. You were kind of in a hurry there, and I appreciate that. And you mentioned that you hand out ballots at Safeway, and I was just hoping you could elaborate on that a little bit.
Thank you for the question. And I have them in here. I brought them, but we have sample ballots. So the borough, the state, they put out the sample ballot. We are so nonpartisan that if anybody ever in my group went beyond that, it's just a ballot. And on the other side, it's informational. Where do you vote? How do you register? Where do you find more information? We do pamphlets on the candidates here. We had a forum at the high school with the special election. So we're nonpartisan. Those sample ballots come from the borough clerk and the state clerk. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for that question.
Alex, that was a great presentation. Thanks. Lauren, you had your hand up.
I just wanted to say that a single day election will be by far the biggest way to get a big voter turnout, bigger turnout. Low turnout keeps everything status quo, and we need people to get involved. We need people to know, and people are just way more enthused about state and federal voting. And if we can get the local on the same date, I think that'd be a big step. My wife and I both worked both elections this last year, and we will definitely volunteer. And I know a lot of other people that are getting very, very interested in grassroots, and they would love to get involved. So that's all I want to say about it.
Thank you, Lauren. Mr. Cox, Vice President Cox has a question.
I do. Thank you, Lauren. And I wanted to thank you and your wife for volunteering for elections. That's important. I was also going to mention that I had spoken about it earlier today, but I don't think anyone else was here today. But that I did look into our elections for the last several years. And you're right, there is a lot of excitement that comes with the state and national elections. We already do get a higher turnout even in our October elections on those years. And so where I'm kind of going with this is what I want to determine over these next few meetings is the change and what it's going to, the amount of work that will be, is that going to cause a much higher percentage? And I think some of that will come. We might try and ask Matsu on their pre-numbers versus their numbers after doing it, not just on odd years and even years, but on the years where they also had a state or national election, to see if that, do you get where I'm going, to see if that change is really becoming very large, I guess. And so that's what I'm looking at is, do we want to make this change? Change will be difficult for some, regardless. I mean, even if you like it, I do think there's going to be people that change will be difficult for some. And so that will be the balance, is saying how much change can we do, and will it make a big change in the numbers that come through? But I am very appreciative that you support it, and I'm also appreciative that you work at the elections. Thank you so very much.
Anything else? Thank you. Yeah, that's right, Madam Clerk.
Dave Peck.
Hi, I'm Dave Peck, and I live in Kenai. And I just wanted to say that I support this effort to get an advisory vote to have all the elections on one ballot. I think it would really help with the turnout, just from my experience of seeing votes go on in Alaska and the other states I've lived in. And I recall several times when I voted in other states where everything was on one ballot, all the way from, well, president to governor to attorney general to local district attorneys, and so it can be done. I realize it probably require code changes and such, but anyway, just wanted to say I support it, and thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Vice President Cox has a question for you.
Thank you, Mr. Peck. Thank you very much. So to clarify, I just wanted, because you said you were supportive of the advisory vote. are you supportive of advisory vote, or are you supportive of us changing the dates? Because an advisory vote is just that. Us changing the dates can be done without an advisory vote.
I would support also the dates so that the elections all occur on one day, if that makes sense. The state and the borough.
Thank you.
Thank you. And who is next? Anyone? Okay, I'm going to close this portion of the public hearing and bring it back to the assembly for your wishes. Mr. Durkovorkian, I think you were wanting to postpone.
Yep, sorry, I was typing notes. Concluding the public comment there, I would move to postpone this to the August 1st assembly meeting. August 1st is the last meeting we can take action on this, and it still make the ballot in October. And I would ask for unanimous for the postponement.
Okay, thank you. And just before I take up the unanimous question, I want to check with the clerk. So August 1, we can, how hard is that to get it on the ballot at August 1? If the assembly decides to pass that on August 1, how hard is that to get on the ballot?
Thank you, Mr. President. August 1st is the actual deadline, so it would not be difficult at all.
Thank you very much. Okay, is there any objection to postponing till August 1? Hearing and seeing no objection, it is postponed till the August 1st. And that is going to bring me to Resolution 2349. And this is in Vice President Cox's committee, legislative committee.
Thank you. I move to adopt resolution 2023-049, supporting passage of the Alaska State Board of Education Early Development Resolution 02-2023 in support of preserving the opportunity for student athletes while balancing competitive fairness and safety for all who compete. And I already gave the summary of that today, but it's still the same thing. There's just a few items on there. What it is it is a resolution to support the State Board of Education's resolution to the Department of Education, stating that there should be a girls' division of sports that is defined by being a female at birth. There's a co-ed division of sports, and then an appeal process for those that may feel something wasn't quite right in how they were decided which team they would be on. Thank you.
Thank you for the committee report. I'll open it up for a public hearing. Madam Clerk, is anyone signed up to speak?
I see Michelle Vasquez on Zoom.
Perfect. Michelle, go ahead.
Sorry about that. Again, Michelle Vasquez from Soldotna. And I am opposed to this resolution, 2023-049. This seems to be a national trend, this happening all over the country with going after trans kids, particularly in sports. I didn't realize there was a long line of trans kids waiting to get on teams in school. I guess I missed that report, that huge report about this. Whether or not you agree, trans girls are girls and trans boys are boys, and because that's how they feel, that's how they identify, and that's just science. To my understanding, there's only been one student in the last 9 years who has competed that was a trans student. One student in 9 years. So I'm wondering where the problem is. This seems to be a solution in search of a problem. And I don't get the necessity of it. Also, think about the message it's sending to students who happen to be trans. What are you telling them? Are you telling them they're not worthy? Just think about what you're doing. Suicide among trans youth, suicide ideation, 82%. 40% of trans kids have attempted suicide. Why are we piling on? I think we should think about this. I am very opposed to this. Thank you for taking time to hear me.
Thank you, Michelle. Is there anyone that has a question for Ms. Vasquez? I don't see any questions. Thank you for your testimony. And is there anyone else on Zoom or signed up, Michelle? Is there anyone from the audience? Alex, come on up.
Fine, is Alex Copland from Homer, Alaska. I was the athletic director at Homer Middle School for 2 years. I've had kids, my children, play in sports. I don't want to have the discussion. As a taxpayer, I don't want the borough to weigh in on this issue. I feel like you guys are involved in the infrastructure and you take good care of us. There's a process in place right now where we can write to the Alaska State School Board to express our ideas on the subject, because it's really complicated and it's divisive. We know that. We know it's divisive. And I want the borough, we're nonpartisan here in the borough. That's one of the problems with having, anyways, we're nonpartisan. And by weighing in on this subject, which is heavily partisan on both sides, I don't want this to be the borough's business. I want us to deal with the infrastructure. I want to deal with the homelessness in the borough. I want to deal with the people needing food in the borough. But as the speaker said, this is not a large issue in Alaska, but it's become a dividing line that I don't think is necessary within our borough. I want our borough to be the way it is, and I would appreciate you funded to the cap. Thank you. We lost money, but thank you for funding the cap. Don't involve yourselves with policy that it just gets ugly, and let's just be peaceful and find compromise and deal with what we're dealing with, because you have enough on your plate than picking this battle, because it's not worthy of the efforts of how a healthy borough, in my opinion, works. My wife might disagree with me. But anyways, in the meantime, thank you for your time, and I have a minute left and I'm done.
Nice job getting done fast there, Alex. Any questions for Mr. Copeland? Thank you for your testimony. Michelle has another one. Go ahead.
Zen Kelly on Zoom.
Thank you. This is Zen Kelly. I'm a resident of Homer at 40739 Birch Park Drive. I'm also a member of the Kenai Peninsula Borough School District Board of Education, but speaking tonight as an individual and resident of the borough. I am calling in opposition to this resolution. This isn't merely a fear-based solution to a non-existent problem. It is the problem. Like many of the co-sponsors of this resolution, I am a father to 2 wonderful young women. My daughters have made their way through our borough schools and graduated from Homer High School. They were both active in extracurricular and co-curricular activities in middle and high school. My goal as a father would be to protect them from the bigotry and ignorance this resolution espouses. Resolution 2023-49 does not save or protect girls' sports. It actually harms a segment of our student population. This is a colossal waste of time and resources. I would ask you to please vote no, and let's move forward with things that don't harm kids. Thank you for your time, and I also appreciate your service to the borough.
Thank you, Zen. Any questions for Mr. Kelly? Don't see any. And who would like to testify next? I don't see her. Bill is, no, come on up. I was just looking through Bill's head, and it's it's big.
Okay, Lindsay Bertoldo from Nikiski. So I do support this resolution, and I thank you all for considering it and supporting it, those who have sponsored and co-sponsored. And so I'm not for attacking any kids. And as far as suicide, from what I understand, the number of girls committing suicide and suffering from depression is going up. I would like to see us be proactive before girls get hurt instead of retroactive after they get hurt. Before we have girls and parents coming in, like I saw last night at the school board meeting, people complaining about an injured student. And so I think we all agree that we all just want to protect as many kids as we can as possible. And, I'm all for science and everything. I don't know. I learned in biology class that a girl was a girl and a boy was a boy, and you could tell that at birth. And I was told when I was pregnant the gender of my child, even before I had my child. You can tell with DNA tests, and only less than a percent, I believe it was 0.5%, have, I guess, abnormal genitalia, where some people may question that at birth. And so, I mean, if you look at the statistics, I don't think it's based on feelings, just like I don't think it's, based on feelings, whether someone is pregnant or if they're suffering from some kind of disease or not. It's not based upon how people feel. I mean, if you're struggling with anorexia, you go to a doctor and the doctor helps you to deal with that and help you realize that you're not fat if you're not fat, Just wanted to say that, and but that's all. So, thank you.
Thank you. I don't see any questions. Who would like to testify next? Debbie Carey, President of the School Board, come forward.
Thank you, President Johnson. At the committee meeting earlier today, the question was asked if any of the sponsors had contacted the school board president or the superintendent of school board. I can speak for myself. Clayton Holland is out of town right now, and I will tell you that no one approached me about this particular resolution. The district was made aware of this resolution last week, and according to the Open Meetings Act, the school board has not discussed that. So that's going to be one of the things that I tell you is that we as a body have not. So we each have our own individual opinions. So I'm not going to speak in favor, I'm not going to speak against as far as the school board is concerned. I would like to point out that the State Board of Education has opened this resolution for public comment, but they have also sent it to the Department of Law for review. And I'd kind of like to know what the Department of Law is going to say, because I have a lot of questions on the legality of this particular resolution. On May 1st and 12th, AASA, the governing body of school sports, chose to take no action on this resolution, meaning they neither opposed it nor were they in favor of it. I'd like to quote, the AASA board felt until DEED changes the current regulations, it would be premature to change the bylaw. However, AASA would like to stress DEED could amend for AAC 06115 in a way that would have the practical effect of compelling AASA to make changes to its bylaw in the future. I will tell you that currently KPBSD is prioritizing issues that are impacting our students today. We're talking about issues such as student learning loss, student mental wellness, staff retention, staff hiring, and the big elephant in the room for us is education funding. And those are the things that we are focusing on as a board at present time. And I would like to say thank you for your time and your consideration. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Debbie. Mr. Chesley has a question.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you, Debbie, for coming. Debbie, would it be helpful if this assembly moved to continue this to our next meeting to give you an opportunity for the school board to have this come before you and discuss it and make recommendations back to this assembly of what would be helpful to the school district?
Unfortunately, I believe our meeting is not in time for us to do that.
Can I comment?
You may comment.
Yeah, the public comment period.
Sorry.
The public comment period that this resolution would be turned into would be over by the time the school board reconvened.
I believe the 26th, correct?
And following up on that, this is a borough resolution, not a school board resolution. So if they wanted to take a position, they could do that on their own.
I had to laugh. Debbie's used to giving being president. He almost took over my meeting.
And I realized that I did that.
It's all good.
I apologize.
Mr. Elam, no problem.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank you and Zen both for coming out tonight. In my report yesterday at the school board meeting, I did fail to bring up this particular resolution. I listed off everything. I had my notes. You guys were cooking through your meeting pretty quick there, and so it was unintentional that I didn't bring this one up. But I did have it on my notes, and so I just wanted to publicly say that I appreciate you coming out and that you guys are keeping track of all the various items and stuff that are going on, and that was an unintentional oversight on my part.
Well, we do appreciate you showing up to all of our meetings as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. I don't see any other questions. Madam Clerk, you have a name?
Yes, sir. Donna Barron.
Hi there. Yep, I'm here.
Go ahead, Donna, whenever you're ready.
Thank you so much. There are people who have spoken before me that were much more eloquent, but I listen to these meetings. It's usually when I'm on my way home from work where I get started, and this has been a very interesting one. So I just wanted to weigh in and say I'm opposed to the assembly getting involved in this. This is harmful. It's been a really difficult time for us, I believe, as a country. And I watch the stuff that, fomates down in the lower 48 and it works its way up here. And I would agree with Alex in particular about this being very divisive and very harmful. Zen had lots of good things to say. Like I said, these people are way more eloquent than I, but I encourage you to not pick up this banner and do the work of the borough to take care of the immense things you have on your plate with short funds. Thank you for funding education and its cap. That's all I have to say. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Donna, thank you. I don't see any questions for Donna. Who would like to go next?
Members of the Assembly and Mayor, my name is Dennis Murray. I would like to, Soldotna, would like to encourage you to pass this resolution. I do think that the borough has a responsibility to its citizens for public policy. This is a public policy question. I think the resolution has several whereases that speak to, different from what others have said tonight, that this is about fairness and safety. And I think that that girls should have a chance to compete against girls, and that biology is immutable. You're either an XX or an XY, and that should determine how you play sports in high school. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Any questions? Don't see any. Lauren, I saw your hand up. Come on forward.
Okay, I think that almost all of us here would agree that when we were in high school and 15 years ago, this would have been absolutely just probably laughed out. If I would have said that I was a girl and I wanted to compete, then they'd have called my parents. Or if I said I was suicidal, there's a danger because I want to be a girl, and I'm not, you know, I want to cut myself, whatever, they'd send me to the nurse. They'd get a doctor for me. And, you know, as far as this proposal goes, you know, I think that I somewhat agree that the borough should stay out of it. But then again, if we can have a voice and stop the nonsense, that's what we need to do. You know, I heard one testimony that brought up about the suicides and about this, and then the one gal back here said that you know, if a kid has you know, the purging problem, you know, then that's a mental disorder, and you get them help. And if a sixth grader says they're a cat and they lick their hands and they want to, and you know, instead of giving them a litter box, we need to get them some help. And I just think that it's just gone too far, and it's time for men to be men and women to be women and stand up for what's right. I hope that helped.
Yeah, I'm James Walsh from Kasilof, and I just want to encourage this body here to vote for the resolution. We have seen what's been taking place in the lower 48, and they're further along in this because of that, we see that biological females cannot compete with biological males on the same level, and that's why there's separate, you know, things for females and separate things for males. And I agree with this gentleman that a man is a man and a woman is a woman, and you don't change your chromosomes, you don't change your DNA, and how you feel about yourself doesn't change your body structure and everything like that. So your resolution here says for the opportunity for student athletes while balancing competitive fairness. You lose competitive fairness when you allow biological males to compete against biological females. We've seen that in the lower 48, haven't we? In the swimming competition, that guy that joined, he whooped the girls, but he was mediocre with the boys. And so it's obvious that there is a biological difference. The other thing that's concerning here is once you open the door, then you're going to have boys wanting to go into the girls' locker rooms and change in front of them. And do you really want to put your high school daughters through that? I don't think we should. And you as a body can vote on that to stop that. It's not bigotry, it's common sense. And so that's what I would like to comment. Any questions?
Don't see any questions. Thank you for your testimony. And one more over here. Adam?
I am also Adam Bertoldo, Nikiski. I'm also very in favor of this resolution. I have a son and a daughter, and most people with eyes can tell there's a big difference. And I will note that most of the people speaking against this who are involved with school districts or something of that nature are saying keep sending the money, but stay out of having any say about whether boys can play with the girls.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you very much. Is there anyone else? Okay, I'm going to close this portion of the public hearing and bring it back to the assembly for your wishes. Ms. Eklund.
Thank you, President Johnson. I pulled this from the consent agenda to be able to speak to it. And I did quite a bit of canvassing of my constituents. I spoke to coaches, longtime coaches of girls' teams. They said, let them play.
I spoke to athletic directors. They said, let them play. I spoke to girls athletes. They said, let them play. I spoke to parents of girls athletes. They said to let them play. I spoke to school counselors. They said to let them play. I have daughters that played. They didn't see a problem with playing with someone. It's not about competition. It's about getting to play. And I have granddaughters. Two of them had played high school sports. They both said, let them play. And I know that this state school board of education requires that there be co-ed sports to balance out the opportunities, but that doesn't work for small schools. We don't have hardly enough players to field a boys team and a girls team. And the topic of locker rooms, if there's sexual harassment or uneasy feelings, then those need to be addressed. But I know that my family, I came from a family of 10, and when we were allowed to play, we felt a lot better about ourselves and our lives, and have gone on to be healthy people. And I have family members that are trans and gray and trans-binary, and I think if they were allowed to play and didn't have feelings like being dissed or not allowed, I think they'd feel better about themselves. I think they'd have better mental health, and I think that's a bigger issue, mental health of our students, than banning them. So let's let them play.
Thank you. So first, I think I'll start with telling you a little bit of why I co-sponsored this. Richard had put it forward before I had co-sponsored it. I saw it come out in our packet early last week, and I read through it, came up to the same conclusion that I said in my brief earlier, that it comes down to having girls on a girls team that are born female. And so I was really debating about it, and I went and talked to my daughter, who's going to be a freshman. And so what I told her was the same thing I told everyone in here tonight, is that's what it was basically about. And I didn't ask her if I should sponsor it or anything like that. I just said, do you think this is something I should support? And what she said to me was, that just makes sense. So to have only girls on a girls team, so meaning that you were born a female, just makes sense. Now, once she said that, I actually, within the next 5 minutes, I called Richard and I asked him if it was okay if I co-sponsored that with him. And part of that is because, I don't know. I'm very questioning what kind of a message we're sending to our daughters when we're allowing people with boys born as a boy on their girls' teams. Okay, girls have worked very hard to have these teams and to have their own teams and to be able to play competitively. And I agree with Miss Eklund. This would make some of those other kids feel pretty good being in first place. I think it would make them feel great. But it's not true. It's not it's not being truly competitive. So what I was going to share is a little bit. So I did a little research after that, and I tried to stay as local as I could. With Just So High, because that's in my district, I looked up their cross-country records for 5K cross-country scores. For boys, their 20th boy, that's the lowest that you can go on the records for as long as they've kept them, was 17 minutes, 37 seconds. The first place girl for the same amount of time was 18:04, which means almost 30 seconds slower than the 20th boy. Then I went through and I looked at track, because it's also easy to score that way. 100 meter, less than a minute difference for the 20th boy to the first girl. The boy was faster by a little less than a minute. 200, less than a second, I'm sorry. 200 was 2 seconds. 400 was 5 seconds. 800 was 2 seconds, and so on, all the way up to the 3,200 meter. Same thing happened every time. The 20th boy was still faster than the fastest girl. Then I looked at cross-country skiing. Last year, in the classic skiing race, when you divide that, because they are different lengths of races, when you divide that down to a kilometer, is the first place girl was only as fast as the 53rd place boy. Okay, and then freestyle was a little bit better, but still bad in that sense, is the first place girl was only as fast as the 22nd place boy. Okay, people can't say that this isn't true, that boys' physiology is different than girls. It's okay. It's okay that there's that difference. I just don't think that it's fair, and I think that we have to be very careful. And the way this reads is that we're talking about safety and competitive fairness. That really is all that matters to me in this. I don't care what they want to be called. I don't care what they're going to dress at those. I think it's more about the competitive fairness of the physiology of the person rather than us saying what makes us feel good and what we are. And I don't mind if people identify however. It's the point is that you can identify that way, but you're not making a situation that's fair to those other players. Anyways, thanks.
Thank you, Vice President Cox. Mr. Elam.
Thank you. I signed on as a co-sponsor today during committee as well. A couple of things. I don't think that this is divisive. I don't feel that it's filled with bigotry. I do think that it's common sense, that it is fairness, it's competitiveness, it's sending the right message. Do I think that there's also other people out there doing things that are bigoted and divisive? Sure. Again, kind of like Mr. Alex said earlier, it's on both sides of the issue. I think that, civil people can come together and have civil conversation and dialogue and be in opposition. So I'm in opposition compared to some of the other folks out there, but, I think this is really sound. Just, we need to do this. There is problems all over the place. We don't necessarily have a huge problem here in Alaska, but I do think that we need to have a voice. We need to make sure that that's heard, and writing a resolution and letting that be heard is good. There are certain times where you need to take a position, and this is one of those times for me.
Thank you, Mr. Elam. Mr. Hibbert.
Thank you, President Johnson. I signed on to this also today, and my reasons were to sign on to this was because of fairness and safety to our young ladies participating. As Mr. Elam and Mr. Vice President Cox said earlier, that it is a safety concern. Also, scholarships and career opportunities for young ladies. If they have to participate against a male, more than likely that they will be on the losing end of that and could lose out on scholarships. As an assembly person, I think that we need to also, we fund schools, and while I've been on the assembly for the last 7 years, most of those years we have funded to the cap for schools. And part of that funding is also for teachers, but not also teachers, but the safety of our students. And so we work hard for that. And so that is the reasons, some of the reasons that I signed on to this.
Thank you, Mr. Hibbert. Oh, yes. Thank you very much. Mr. Ribbons on Zoom.
Thank you, President Johnson. I will vote in favor of this resolution as narrowly defined to preserve the competitive nature of female athletics in the Kenai Peninsula Borough. However, the whereas number 6 in the resolution 2023-049 is not valid under current borough athletics, and historically has been an actual issue in borough athletics, in that we're not establishing two genders, we're establishing one for females and one for boys and girls to compete together. I agree with co-sponsors, the initial co-sponsors, Vice President Cox and Assemblyman Durkavorkian, that the subject of this resolution is not currently an issue. I agree with Assemblywoman Eklund that the Assembly needs to carefully consider issues with potential for further endangering vulnerable children. Unlike the two initial co-sponsors, I did speak with both the district superintendent and my district school board representative, and they both told me that they didn't intend to raise the issue for our deliberation. The Assembly should rely on the wisdom of our boards and directors for establishing policy. The Alaska State Board of Education is going to press on with this issue with or without a resolution from the Kenai Peninsula Borough Assembly.
Thank you, Peter.
And Mr. Chesley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to vote no on this resolution tonight, and my reason for being is just procedure. That we have a school board and we have a school board administration that shares the building with us, and I think in developing these policies that we should be definitely working collaboratively with our school board and our district superintendent and his staff to do these things. So that's why I was initially interested in seeing if there was an opportunity to move this forward. Apparently there's not. And so in support of good public policy between the Borough Assembly and our school district and school board administration, I'm going to vote no.
Thank you, Lane. I'm going to pass the gavel.
Taking the gavel.
Thank you, Vice President Cox, for taking the gavel. I participated in sports when I was in high school. It was one of the biggest draws for high school for me, to tell you the truth. I wasn't that interested in education. And so I hear loud and clear the fairness issue about boys competing with girls. I understand that. I understand how important sports are to these kids. Some of them, I think Mr. Hibbert made a good point about scholarships. Life has dealt me something very different that makes me very hesitant on this issue, and perhaps I know more about it than some. I'll start here. After I graduated from high school, I went to college to wrestle. It was a rather poor reason to go to college, to tell you the truth, but I took psychology in college, and I learned about a little boy that was born in this psychology class. And the boy was getting a circumcision, and they burnt his penis off. And so they decided to turn this boy into a girl. And I thought about that a few times over the years, about how horrible that was. But then that makes me think today that if that happened once, there's probably other circumstances similar to this where something has happened to a baby and they have no choice but to be a girl, even though they were born a boy. Then my wife and I had children. We had 4 children. Life was reasonably good. And then we had a 5th child. And life was still reasonably good. But the 5th child was harder to raise than the previous 4. Not too long after the 5th child entered school, grade school, he began to identify as a girl. And there was nothing in my background or parenting to prepare me for this. And so I handled it rather poorly. I think I made life difficult for everybody involved. And our child never took hormonal therapy while he was in our home. But once he got out of the home, she did. And so she identifies as a girl. And what I have discovered in all of this is that when you care about people, if you really care about them, you continue to love them, even if they make choices that are pretty hard. And I want to say tonight, unequivocally, that I love Violet. And that I think that those who have brought up suicide are talking straight stuff. I think that suicide is a very big danger for these kids. And so, what I want to do is, I understand the sport thing, so I'll probably vote in favor of this. But what I want to do is I want to see this group of assembly members, and I want to see this group of public people that are so hardened by this issue. I want to see them care about these kids. Let's have something, you talk about mental health, then let's bring forth a resolution to support these kids, because they're in a real uncomfortable position. When you're that different and you realize it, it's a very hard thing to go through life. So I think that I think that every student and every child in our school system is valuable. And so I want to make sure that we support them. I think that this resolution is probably going to send a message that's going to be hard for some kids to receive. It's just going to make them reject it again. They're rejected continually. They reject themselves. So it's very difficult. I just did a teeny bit of research. I don't know even as much about this as nearly as much as I should because I've been so resistant at learning it. But I did look on the Center for Disease Control, that's U.S. government site. In 2021, more than a quarter of high school students who identify as lesbian, gay, or bisexual reported attempting suicide in the prior 12 months. A quarter of them. And you want to know what about them? Some of them are successful. I think that anybody that loses a child to suicide is, as a parent, hurts. Because you and I found out about parents. What they want is their children to be happy. They want them to be safe. They want them to be productive members of society. That's what I found from person to person throughout my life. And that's what I want as a father. And then I found something else interesting that that same site put out that startled me. And maybe it'll startle you. It says here that suicide rates increase as population density decreases and an area becomes more rural. Areas don't become more rural, they become more urban, they start rural. And so I'm surprised that rural areas have a bigger suicide problem per capita than citied areas, than urban areas. That surprises me. And I'm not, I didn't go on in my psychology lessons in college, so I don't know anything about it other than that I'm surprised. And so I guess when we see suicide rates in native villages and whatnot, we can understand or we can get some inkling that suicide rates are actually higher in rural areas. And our area is certainly not a huge urban area. There's a great deal of our area that is rural. Anyway, the biggest thing that I want to say is that I care about kids if they're transgender or gay or rejected or have some sort of handicap and the other kids are making fun of them. I care about them. And that's basically all I have, and I'm sorry that I'm emotional.
Thank you. There's a gavel.
Does anyone else want to speak? Mayor Michiki.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for that heartfelt discussion. I couldn't agree with you more. I co-sponsored this resolution out of a common sense approach, but I share your feelings that I will continue to do what I can to support kids, particularly those that have differences than the norm. And whatever the norm is, I'm not sure I know how to define that, but I know certain kids go through some real struggles. And this is no reflection on them. To me, it's a common sense thing. I think about the reason for Title IX in 1972 passing. It was a lack of opportunity for female athletes. It went from a 7% participation rate to a 44% participation rate by females in sports. It went up 456% after Title IX passed, and what it did was just kind of recognize some equality for the genders in sports. I just think of that. Some folks gave the facts tonight on the potential to compete. You just think about that young family of a female that gets them up at 4 a.m. for years and years and years, and they compete at a certain level and become the top of their game, and it gets shattered by someone that has a different set of physical attributes. And it's one of those things. I bounce things off my wife. My wife is a master of common sense on some of these issues, and we just kind of talked about it. And to me, it's common sense approach that does not even remotely touch the LGBTQ issue. It is a set of biological attributes versus another set of biological attributes. So for me, it's a fairly simple, common sense decision. And as we talked about with the resolution with David Haig, it's not what we do, but sometimes we have to speak up for folks that want us to do those things. And this has been very respectful. We haven't had some of the accusations you hear sometimes during other discussions similar to this, and I appreciate that very much. But to me, I hope those kids out there that see themselves as being different will know that they're equally important, equally loved, equally included in everything that we offer, other than where those biological differences make it relatively impossible for one gender and much easier to succeed for another.
Thank you, Mayor. I think we're ready to vote on this. Mr. Rukaforkian.
Yeah, I'm going to keep it brief because everyone has said a lot. First of all, I would just want to thank everyone that came out and testified for or against this resolution. I really value the public's input, whether it's in support of something I put forward or not. I want to hear from you. So I appreciate that. We got a lot of emails. We got a lot of public testimony tonight. I take all that to heart. I take all the emails I get into considering when I'm looking to vote on something. And this is something I've felt passionately about, and that's why I put forward this resolution. With that, I would just call for a vote.
Thank you, Mr. Dorkavorkian. Madam Clerk, will you open the vote, please?
Mr. Ribbons, your vote, please.
Yes.
Excuse me. I have 6 yes, 2 no. The no votes were cast by Mr. Chesley and Ms. Eklund. The motion passes.
Let's take the mayor's report and we'll get out of here. It's summer night. Let's get home.
I'll take that as motivation for me to be quick. So I'll be quick. Lots of South Peninsula Hospital discussions been going on. You guys all saw the contracts. We talked about that earlier. We are extremely supportive of SPH and their success. Sometimes we have some issues that take a little bit longer discussion to get to where we need to be, but I'm very supportive, and I think we demonstrate that with the amount of time we spend with hospital folks down there, with the assembly folks from down there, and we will continue to do so in working through some issues. I've been meeting with construction folks. We've got housing issues, so I've been meeting with folks from around here, folks from Seward, folks from the Homer area about some of the issues, Anchor Point, Funny River. Just trying to understand what might be in the way of some of the progress, and we have seen some progress. That's very welcome. I think we need significantly more, particularly in the South Peninsula and Eastern Peninsula area. I'm putting together sort of what I'm learning about that issue to share, and some have asked me when we had the mayor's meeting, asked that I pull together a little housing symposium with the different groups so we can work together on some of those solutions. So I will be doing that. See, I'm going to cut it really short. Several AKLNG meetings. We met with investors last week. The reality of it is that I know people talk about that project. There are real investors from real countries that have a real need for liquefied natural gas that has been exasperated or dramatically increased because of geopolitical issues in Ukraine and a shift from some of those supplies to Western Europe. So I think there's some real potential there that hadn't existed before. I'll remain invested. We're going to be reinitiating the AKLNG Citizens Advisory Group. We'll be bringing that forward in the next couple of meetings. There's some issues that we should stay involved with our local citizens so that we have the greatest fingerprints on the footprint of what eventually occurs here. We have general enforcement discussions about some of the things. You talked about one of them today, where we'd like to work with people through the various issues in the borough and try to find ways where we can help people out of some of the sort of self-imposed situations they put themselves in. Sometimes that doesn't work, and that's just the bottom line. So we've been meeting and talking about some of those code compliance issues with legal and planning and roads, code compliance, and we're going to do what we can. There's been a couple long-standing issues where the borough's been pretty, in my view, unnecessarily tough on folks. We want to try to help them work that out. And then there's been some cases where we probably need to become a little tougher. So I will talk to you about the progress, about a couple of issues that you've talked about recently, probably off the record for now. It's not a transparency thing. A lot of people like to use that word. It's sort of a progress on where we are and where we think things can go one way or another. I hope they're all resolved the softer way. But sometimes that doesn't work out. Really enjoyed the Cooper Landing community meeting. The team went down, Robert and Brandy and Sean and Brenda and Chiefs Browning and Bracken. Good discussion with the community. I can assure you this does not change my commitment to us being able to provide better, more efficient emergency services at a lower cost to all of our residents. That, if anything, it motivates me more than anything. Maybe that was their intent. Let's get Machiki really moving on this thing. But we are taking it very seriously, and looking at the trends around the country, I think it's clear that others, with all the increased costs and the things that we're seeing in everyday life at home, is also impacting government and emergency services. So keep you posted on that. I've been working on the Soldotna Elementary project, and our folks are working very well with the district on moving forward with their school projects. Might be time for another update, maybe another meeting or so, Mr. Hedges. We had a great meeting with on the K Beach flooding issue with all of the involved state and federal agencies, so that they understand where we're coming from. We understand the limits of what we can do legally, and then we understand we can work collaboratively. We obviously have a 16-mile dam called K Beach Road. We have some development. We have folks that have tried to solve the problem on their own. Doesn't seem to be working very well. And then we have the borough's only role, which is through the road service system. So you all heard a little bit about that today. I think we have some additional work to do. I'm not going to bore you with the everyday meetings. I always publish this with the clerk when we're done with these meetings, but things are moving in the borough. I'm very proud of this team. They're working well together, working well with you, and things are going well. A couple of last things. We have a notice to proceed from Mr. Sean Hawley, who won the bid for the K Beach flooding area, so that will be kicking off likely this week, or at the very latest, the beginning of next week. Already talked about my commitment to what begins on the Eastern Peninsula and moves to other regions as we talk about emergency services. And finally, if it seems like I feel a little older today, yesterday was my first commercial opening, so instead of 61, I think I know what 81 feels like, but it was a good day, and it's good to be back on the water. So thanks, unless you have questions.
Questions for the mayor? Mr. Chesley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to reiterate what I did in committee today, that I just really wanted to thank our solid waste director for being available to answer questions from constituents on very short order notice, and just appreciate the mayor supporting his staff to be very responsive to our borough residents. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Mr.
Lane.
President. If I could just comment back on that.
Please.
Mr. Fry's, and when I say inherited, I don't want that to be a reflection of other employees in the recent past. Some problems with solid waste have gone up significantly over the last several years, and we're trying to manage those issues. But he's been a great leader of the solid waste department, and begrudgingly joined me for the Sterling Mall ribbon cutting the other day. But that was a kind of a cool thing. We had some customers waiting with some pretty good stuff, so better get over there early and make sure it doesn't get swept away.
Thank you, Mayor. Anyone else? So that's going to bring me to the point of the meeting where, Mr. Elam, did I miss something?
No, you're fine. I probably shouldn't say it anyhow, but I was just going to say that I've appreciated the work that you've been putting into getting everything all taken care of here, Mr. Machicki. And so, definitely we need to, like you said, we need to get the flooding thing all over there taken care of and under control. And so hopefully we can work through all of that. I mean, I'm not an engineer or civil engineer or hydrologist or anything, but I saw a couple spots that I think a bulldozer would help. I'm just saying. If you need some help, I know a guy. Thank you.
Mr. President, I'm afraid we've had a little too much bulldozer help, but the one place where it was helpful was solving another long-standing problem in your district, which was really fun to watch. That's what I want to do when I grow up. I want to be the guy that knocks down buildings that shouldn't be standing anymore.
Thank you. Okay, so now it's time for public comment. This is the portion where you have 3 minutes to talk about whatever's on your heart. Is there anyone signed up? Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there anyone that would like to speak to anything tonight? Please come forward.
Husband was here last month. It was talking about road maintenance on our road that apparently has not always been Birdsong Avenue out on K Beach. It changed. It's been like 3 or 4 different names.
Could you pull the microphone up really close?
Sorry.
Thanks. And say your name one more time.
Amber Rasmussen. And so the road's been changed multiple times. It used to be plowed and maintained ever since we purchased it in 2018. And all of a sudden this year it stopped. And so he said there was someone that was going to look into seeing if there were records of the maintenance, because we might be grandfathered in. So I was seeing if there was anything found out about that.
Well, Madam Amber Rasmussen, I attended the road service meeting when your husband presented to them, and Mr. Scott Griebel, the roads director, was there. And as I recall, there is no such thing as prescriptive rights. Like if you had your road maintained for however many years, if it's not on borough maintenance, if it was never brought up to borough maintenance, some roads were put into borough maintenance even though they weren't ready. But if your road was not put in borough maintenance, even if it was bladed before, that won't cause the borough to move it onto borough maintenance.
Okay.
I appreciate and I'm sympathetic, but the road service area works in a 1.4 mil budget, and they have to stay in that. So.
Okay. Thank you.
And thank you very much.
Excuse me.
Ms. Eklund has a question for you.
Ms. Rasmussen, there are ways that you can get your road added to the borough maintained roads, but it takes
$35,000.
Yeah. Yeah. Just wanted you to know that there was a way, and hopefully there's neighbors to help spread that bill around.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, road improvement districts work better if there's more people. President Carey.
I think I'll just be Debbie Carey for the moment, if that's okay.
Debbie it is tonight.
Thank you. I just want to take a moment and say thank you, and thank you for your heartfelt testimony. We don't want to be divided on issues. We want to be together. And when you said, let's find a way to support these children, that's the goal, is how do we make them feel valued? Because everybody wants to feel valued. The suicide rates in the state of Alaska are astronomical. Suicide rates in the LGBTQ community is even higher. Like Mr. Johnson, I have a daughter that suffers from mental wellness. And if it hadn't been for the support of this community and the community of friends that she has, we wouldn't have her today. So let's find a way to support each and every one of them. And I really appreciate every single assembly member because I know how much work you put in on a daily basis to make sure that what happens in the Kenai is the best for all of the residents in the Kenai. So thank you. And let's keep up the great work.
Thank you, Debbie. Anyone else? Madam Clerk.
I have Donna Barron on Zoom, please.
Thank you, Donna. Go ahead.
Yes, hello. I too just wanted to thank you, Mr. Johnson, President Johnson, for sharing your very heartfelt story. And my hope is that you will reach people who have very concrete, decisive opinions about what this is and have it melt their heart if they know you and they trust you and they love you. Because you love your daughter. And that's what it's going to take. That's what it takes to make change happen. Because people that come up and testify and they are like so black and white about what is male and what is female and what is right and what is wrong until it hits them personally and hits their family. I just pray to God that anybody who is listening to you can say, wow, this could be my child. This could be my grandchild. This could be someone I love. And let that in. Please let that in, because there is a spectrum of what we are in this world. We've known it for a long time. Look at the Kinsey report. Please just research this stuff. Not everybody is straight up heterosexual or homosexual. There are so many variants on the slide. It's a sliding scale. So I just appreciate everything you said. I appreciate you being vulnerable with this population. And I just want everybody to just take a step back, take a breath, and know that what you know about people might be really small in the bigger scale. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Donna. Anyone else? Come on forward.
I just wanted to say, Lindsay Bertoldo from Nikiski, just wanted to say, I think it's not fair to assume that if somebody sees things more black and white, that it's because that they don't have anybody in their family or anybody that they care about who sees things differently. And that's all I want to say about it.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, thank you. We are going to close this portion of the public hearing and bring it back to the assembly. Bill, as always, you get to go first.
Thank you. Thanks everybody for coming out tonight, for all the testimony, for being involved and paying attention. It means a lot to me to get everybody's input. I feel like it was a pretty good meeting. We covered a lot of topics that definitely can be very dividing in the community. And I don't want it to be, right? You know, when it comes to like Mr. Johnson's testimony, I'm very appreciative of him sharing. We don't all agree necessarily on how to handle some of these processes, but you know, I think it's fine for everybody to have an opinion. And the civil discourse and conversation about it is important for us to have in a community, and to have some basic rules, right? You know, keep the gloves up and have that conversation. I too am very supportive of the mental health and the suicide things that we have going on in our community. It is bad. I've seen some of those statistics, and it's not good, you know, and it's alarming what's going on with our kids. So I too am very supportive of trying to find solutions and help those communities and kids in particular. Adults are important to me as well, but the kids are in particular one that I find that, you know, a soft spot for. I help quite a few of them whenever I can in the opportunities in the community, but you know, when it comes to the sports and the various rules of engagement publicly, I think that we have to have some black and white lines. So with that, I appreciate everybody coming out, and hope you guys have a good night.
Thank you, Bill. Brent.
Thank you, Brent. I have a friend that struggles with mental health. Does anybody in this room know what to do? I didn't. Had no idea. Emergency room. 8 weeks to get someone in, to have them checked out, to have them get to a counselor, talk to somebody. 8 weeks. It's entirely too long. Anyways, so how do we do this? I have no idea. I'd ask the school board president, just what are we doing in the school district? And I hope we're doing something for these kids. Thank you. If we have, or we know anybody that's struggling with mental health, adults or children, I would still encourage them to reach out to someone, at least to talk to. I want to thank this assembly for being respectful to everyone. We don't always all disagree or agree on things every day on these nights, but at the end of the day, we come back and do it all over again. Mayor, you've inherited some issues. Your last 3 months, I appreciate the things that you were doing, trying to make wrongs right, and I continue to look forward to working with you on these and trying to get these issues solved, and that. So, at the end of the day, hey, let's all be good humans. So that's all.
Thank you, Brent. Richard.
Again, I just want to say thank you to everyone that came out and testified. It's hard to come out, and public speaking is not easy, so I appreciate anytime anyone gets up there and does it. And then I just want to congratulate Michelle. You've done a lot for me over the past few years, so I appreciate you, and I think you're going to do a great job.
Thank you, Richard. Peter. Ribbons.
Thank you, President Johnson. Nothing for me tonight.
Thank you, Peter. Mayor Machicki, do you want to have anything else to say?
It'll be quick. I appreciate the ways that this body discusses things. There are a lot of bodies around the country. There's a lot of bodies in the state. There are bodies on the Kenai Peninsula that their discussions have a very different feel to them than the one tonight. And the issue could potentially be extremely controversial, and I just really appreciate the way that discussion went, the way you all handled it. Public as well. So thank you. It's a pleasure working with all of you so far.
You did pick up on that so far, didn't you? And thank you, Mayor. It's been a pleasure working with you as well. So far. Lane.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to shift to a lighter subject, and I just want to talk about the sandhill cranes in Homer. And if you haven't come down and driven through town, it's quite delightful. There's a lot of juvenile sandhill cranes that haven't paired up yet. And so they're like little bands of juvenile delinquents hanging out in parking lots, 10, 15 cranes here, 5 or 6 cranes there. And the cranes are having their colts. And so if you come down to Beluga Slough, you can see a couple pairs of cranes that are nesting along the edges of the slough. So if you haven't had a chance to do that, I encourage you to come down and enjoy the treat of the sandhill cranes in Homer. Thank you.
Thanks, Lane. Cindy.
Thank you, President Johnson. So, I hope that we all find a way to include everyone and make them feel loved. That's all I got. Thanks.
Well, Cindy, you got a lot. Thank you. Vice President Cox.
Thanks. So first, I want to mention something that I forgot to do tonight. I was going to do an amendment to the resolution that we passed tonight, just to add the school board and our cities on there. I did ask Michelle, and she said it would be fine if to still send those. I can request her to send those. I just wanted to make sure I told all of the assembly that was my plan, is to ask her to send those. It is not in the resolution, but she said it was okay to email those out because it is a public document. With that, I was also going to share that I don't know, I won't say she's probably been bombarded, but hopefully she's getting a few. Is I took several of Michelle's cards, and I've been handing those to people that I know at meetings and things about mental health, to ask them to come in and give us 10-minute presentations. Hopefully, I know we've had at least 2 come in and talk already, but I'm hoping that more will do that. So I just encourage others on the assembly, if that's something that interests you, is to do that. The other thing is if there is anything that we can bring forward about mental health, I think it's very important. Mental health is not a topic on its own. It also has to do with substance abuse, homelessness. There's a lot involved with mental health that goes hand in hand. And I think it's something that is very quietly at the moment in our community, but very large, actually. There's a large community of people with mental health issues, and we need to deal with those, and we need to help those folks. So the other thing I was going to add, which is much lighter than that, is tomorrow, don't forget to come to the park. July 12th, we have Diggin' Dirt open, and then Ellie Nelson is opening. Both very good. If you've never heard either of them, they're both wonderful. And then I'm going to give a little shout out for the 13th. My son Drew will be 18. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, but it's happening. So we're going to go with it. So I wish him a happy birthday.
Thank you, Vice President Cox. I want to say that I appreciate the members of the Assembly. I appreciate your sympathies and your honesty and your willingness to work together and to work for the people of the borough, especially the children. And congratulations, Michelle. And with that, our next meeting is August 1st. Meeting is adjourned.